NBA DFS show with John Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, FA Nation? John Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook Preview Show, live show. We're here live for the Friday 10-game main slate. James, there is only a week left in the NBA regular season here. And, nothing major went down today, right? You were on the playbook. No slate-altering news has broken throughout the middle of the day. Nothing like that. None. If you go look at DraftKings, they're not even acknowledging that any of these injury updates have
occurred. They don't care. No, they don't care.
They have checked out of updating their site when it comes to injury statuses. But fortunately, we have some push notifications turned on to get the news. Because you were on the playbook today, and it's been a day. I'm coming off of the MLB DFS show. I did a lot of MLB DFS content here today, but I've also been obviously paying attention to what's going on in the NBA. 10 games of mayhem is what we're about to ensue here today.
Well, I got a DM from you at some point today, and it was just eyes emoji.
Yeah.
And my first reaction was like, what happened? What happened with work? Did something happen? And then I was like, oh, he's probably talking about the NBA. And then I was like, well, what part of the NBA? So I messaged you back. I was like, what are the eyes for? Is it something specific or like
all
in general? And you're like, just all of it. And yeah, that's kind of what it was today. Like yesterday was a fun night. Right? It was like, again, 10 teams that all had something to play for. Tonight, there are a lot of teams that have nothing to play for. Toronto Dave's in here. The Raptors down absolutely horrendous. They haven't won a game, I think, since February. Maybe January. I mean, it's been a long time since Toronto's won a game. So salute to you, Toronto Dave, for keeping the Toronto in front of your name. We have Don in here. The NBA is the same thing over and over again when it gets to April. Really, when it just realizes who the bad teams are. It's the same thing over and over by like March, end of February, second half of the season. Malachi Flynn did score 50 actual in a game. I don't know if he scored 50 actual in the entirety of the season prior to that game. Coach Chris in here, John, Sasha, Donnie. We got a squad in here already. I mean, they probably were waiting for us because we were running late.
Sabonis sucks 18 and 17. Listen, we had an all-time bad beat last night here, Don. We did the Jalen Johnson PRA 29.5. The man had 16 rebounds. He only had 6 actual points in that game. It was
16 rebounds, 4 assists. He had 20 rebounds and assists on a 29.5 PRA.
Yeah.
You bet that? If you had a crystal ball, you bet that 100 out of 100 times.
I said last night, knowing how the outcome was, I would still bet it because I wouldn't believe that's what happened. Dez, my guy, back in the chat. What's up, Dez? Happy to have you in here with us, man. Don asking, do the players even care at this point? Honestly,
some do. Some getting booking their vacations, seeing where the best deals are on.
The teams that are out don't care. The Celtics ruled out Jaylen Brown and Derek White tonight. Already out. And we're not sure. We talked about this on the show this morning. Would it stun you if come halftime you get the alert starting the second half for the Boston Celtics is Luke Cornett, Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser, O'Shea Brissett? Wouldn't shock me.
So do you remember?
Shock me if Jason Tatum didn't play this whole game?
Do you remember last night we were talking about the G Leaguers?
Yeah,
I said we'll up. So per the 3:30 report, I haven't looked at the 4:30 report. Per the 3:30 report, Jordan Walsh and Drew Peterson were called up with the team.
Yeah.
The rest of the G Leaguers are down, but they did call up 2 players from the G League. Not to say that they're going to play. They're also going to go back to the G League and play in their playoffs. But
yep.
I completely agree. There's plenty of teams that we're going to use guys from, like we're going to look at the ownership that I just posted on fantasy.com and see nothing but Memphis atop the list. But like Boston has quite literally nothing to play for tonight. So it would not surprise me whatsoever.
Coach Chris, I swear I wasn't playing, but I am tonight. Here we are.
Coach Chris,
we understand.
Coach Chris, Coach Chris also said on so that launch date in North Carolina was March 11th, John. We are now at it is now April 5th. Guess what? Coach Chris is still with us a month later. Salute to you, Coach Chris.
Salute to you for sure. Let me just run down some of the injury news here. And we appreciate all of you that are in the chat. If you haven't already, hit that thumbs up button, hit that like button. It is a free way to support what we got going on here on the Fantasy Land YouTube channel. If you haven't already subscribed, we're still doing these NBA DFS shows. We're going to do them through the first round of the playoffs. We have MLB DFS shows every day right before this one. So, plenty of DFS coverage here on the channel. So if you guys want to support what we're doing free, all you got to do is hit that like button, subscribe. It definitely helps us out there with the YouTube algo. Big news, obviously, Giannis doubtful for tonight. Luka Doncic doubtful for tonight. Damian Lillard is in. We have Zion as questionable. Jaylen Brown and Derek White are out. Jalen Williams is doubtful. Yusuf Nurkic is questionable here for this evening. OG Anunoby all of a sudden upgraded to questionable for tonight. Maybe he finds his way into a lineup. Kuminga and Wiggins are questionable. What else do we have? Amen Thompson is out for tonight. Jeremy Grant, we know, is doubtful. Keldon Johnson got ruled out. All of Memphis, we know what their situation is looking like here for tonight. So just a ton of injury news that we're waiting on official statuses for when it comes to this slate. But, no Luka Doncic tonight. You get Kyrie Irving at 9K against Golden State. There's something there.
Yeah, both teams on a back-to-back. And Golden State could be shorthanded as well. So it should be a pretty fun one. I mean, Luka's out, but Dallas, again, they still need to win. This
maybe just laugh out loud without laughing out loud because I'm trying to be professional, but this is hysterical, Dez. I appreciate it.
Dez is, dude, look at Dez's last three comments where he's walking with Jesus, then he makes a Coke reference, and then he's 1-800-GAMBLER. I mean,
I called 1-800-GAMBLER when they picked up. They ended up offering me a discount for an optimizer. That is the funniest thing I've ever read in my life. That is the funniest thing I've ever read.
Dude, Dez is on a roll today with his last three comments. I mean, that is salute to you, Dez.
And then Craig out here riding with us. We're happy y'all in the chat with us, man. It's been a long season, but we're not going anywhere. Do the show every day for you guys. We're here to support the family. All right, we've obviously chit-chatted enough as the news comes through. Let's take a look at some of the spreads here for tonight. We got Orlando, Charlotte. Charlotte's getting 12. They did just rule in Miles Bridges and Brandon Miller and Grant Williams. The whole crew playing for Charlotte. And Micic. 205.5 total there against Orlando. They're still going to get wiped. Thunder, Indiana given 5.5, 235.5 to the Thunder. In that one there, again, no SGA, probably no Jalen Williams for the Thunder here this evening. Portland, Washington given 2.5, 224.5 total. Sacramento, Boston giving 9, 226. Knicks, Bulls giving 1, 212. Heat, Rockets getting 3, 215.5. Pistons, Grizzlies giving 1, 212.5. Raptors, Bucks giving 14.5, 230 there. Even without Giannis, still big favorites. San Antonio, New Orleans giving 11.5, 219. Golden State, Dallas giving 1.5, 222.5 total. That's what we got for the main slate, right? No 10 p.m. games on this one.
No 10 p.m.
No Minnesota, Phoenix, no Utah, LA on the late slate on the main slate rather. You can check those out on the main slate, late slate there for today. Ready to get into it? Ready to dive into it?
Yeah, let's go.
All right,
let's go.
Point guard, Luka not playing. SGA out. Halliburton, Brunson, Fox, Lillard are now your top four guards. And Irving is probably the number one play of the day now, right?
Yeah. We had a comment, I think, from Don.
Yeah, Irving the play for Dallas. Yeah.
I think there's a lot to like about Dallas in general, but Kyrie is obviously creme de la creme. 1.5 fantasy points per minute without Luka, excuse me. So yeah, I think 9K for Kyrie lock and load there. He's the top play above 9K at point guard. You could definitely get to Halliburton. He's been good. We talked about it on yesterday's stream, how much we liked Jalen Brunson. He actually outscored Luka Doncic last night. I cashed, could have had something a little bigger if I picked the right value, but 38 minutes, 61 fantasy points. We know that's in Brunson's bag. The assists have been there. We know the scoring is going to be there. Second leg of a back-to-back, but really good matchup against Chicago. The Bulls ranked 29th in defense or 28th in defense since the All-Star break. So you can get Halliburton, Brunson if you want. Fox, it's fine. You had a big night last night. But I think all roads lead back to Kyrie on.
100% in agreement with you. Lillard obviously at 8,900 without Giannis makes a lot of sense, but that matchup against Toronto, who knows? Who knows how long that's going to end up being competitive for there. Anything changed for you in the 8K range? You have quickly McCollum at 81 now, could be without Zion and Brandon Ingram, obviously, in this matchup against San Antonio. Solo McCollum at 8,100. That could be something.
Yeah, I mean, McCollum is definitely interesting. If we're going to get anywhere close to 40 minutes like we've gotten every night, essentially, since Ingram's gone down. 8,100's a different pricing tier than we've seen, but he's coming off 60. He's a good rebounding guard, so I'm not saying the 10 rebounds is repeatable, but also...
Like 5 and 6 in this recent game, 7
possible.
Down here, so.
Yeah, it's possible. And who's to say he can't just replace 10 rebounds with 10 assists? He had 9 the game prior, so... definitely can get to CJ if there's no Zion. It's a great spot. I'm okay with getting to quickly. No Beverly, no Giannis is, two obvious pieces of their defensive identity. So
and they're getting Barrett back, which helps quickly a little bit.
And Kellyo. And Kelly, this is the healthiest they've obviously been. It's just we need to find out if there's gonna still be type of restriction here for quickly. So nothing really has changed. Like Curry in tournaments, Jalen Green tournaments. It will be interesting, I think, to see what the ownership looks like Dame versus Kyrie tonight, because right now the whole field, and per our latest update, we don't have the Kyrie stuff baked in. So Lillard's at 23%. I'm interested to see what Lillard's looks like versus Kyrie's when we get that update.
Sure. We did get just news. Miles Turner expected to play tonight for the Pacers, so that there's that. Giddey 75, Poole 74. Two guys I know that we had talked a lot about. We're given their lineups here tonight. Anything change for you? Do you have a priority between Giddey or Poole?
I think they're both solid. Giddey definitely in tournaments is a really good spot. There's just obviously volatility with his minutes, and the price is the price now compared to what it was, but they're shorthanded, so they'll need him. Jordan Poole is basically without everybody. It's Jordan Poole and friends tonight. So I know Denny Avdia was ruled in earlier, but he's been super solid. 40 plus in 3 straight, 4 of his last 5. We know the shot attempts are going to continue.
And they're 2-point favorites tonight. So they're
for the first time ever.
Feels that way.
I like both. It's hard for me to honestly get there now. I think now that we have both Kyrie and Dame.
Yeah.
Basically on an island.
Well, you can play 3 of these guys today. Guard spots, guard, util.
You have to make a decision though, I think, because there's clear Memphis guard value in Jordan Goodwin. There's clear Detroit value with your guard spot, right? There's very good guard value. Then essentially, yes, you can play 4, but then what? You're not spending up on Wembanyama, or you're not double centering potentially, I think is a route, because there's value centers, there's mid-tier. I think it's you can. I'm not saying you can't. I also really like value point guards tonight.
Sure. Well, I mean, we talked about some of the value guards here. I guess then the mid tiers there. You had Banton and Henderson at 71 and 69. Drew Holiday without Derek White and Jaylen Brown at 64. McBride at 61. Trey Jones at $5,900, the guy that I know we liked the other day. Then he mentioned you got the Memphis guys, you have Detroit guys down here. Peyton Pritchard, I think, has to be in the conversation tonight now with those with White and Brown out. So I mean, like, where are you like planting your flag when it comes to these value guards?
So you mentioned Drew Holiday, and this is blanket statement for Boston. I am full fading any regular Boston starter.
Okay.
Right? Like if they beat me, so be it. But we opened the show literally saying we don't know if they don't have any reason other than like a ramp up, which they've already been full capacity all year, right?
Yeah.
For Boston, it's literally all about staying healthy, just staying healthy, getting them in the games enough. So for me, if I lose because Boston goes nuclear tonight, I will gladly accept it. But I am out on like Holiday, Tatum, Horford, Porzingis.
Okay.
Fully out.
So where does that put Pritchard for you then? He's $100 more than Malachi Flynn.
That does put Peyton Pritchard in the forefronts because first off, he's been a regular rotation piece for them. And I think he's a guy that they've always leaned on when there's been guys out, when there's been blowouts, when their closing lineups are like, he plays in almost every scenario. Like either if there's a guy out, he plays and closes. If they're in a blowout, he plays and closes. Like
when they were without Brown and Drew Holiday, you got these minutes out of him. And you got 43, 37, 33, 37, 30 out of him. No White, no Brown tonight. And there's no guarantee that those other starters play, like you said, more than 24 minutes tonight, So it's a good spot. It's a good spot for him. I'm a Celtics fan. I live outside of Boston. This isn't a homer run. We've seen the proof, right? We know what him and Hauser can do when given the run. And there's no reason for those guys not to play.
Agreed. And I really do think because the whole field's going to Jordan Goodwin, right?
Yeah.
I think that's like 4,600 Jordan Goodwin. A
lot of those fantasy points of Goodwin are being driven off of 3 straight double-digit rebound games.
Correct. And 2 really, for him, efficient shooting nights for a guy shooting 37% on the year, right? Mm-hmm. He's shooting 37% on the year, 28% from 3. And over the last 5 games, 42%, 36 from 3. So he's shooting much higher than any ceiling that he's given us really all year.
Sure.
So what if all those stats come back to earth? Now, it might not matter. They have 8 guys, right? 8 or 9. They have 9 players with Pereira. So, I'm okay with Goodwin, and I'm okay with Flynn. I'm not going to sit here and say I think Malachi Flynn's going to score 50 in the game. Because I do think Marcus Sasser is your starting point guard and is the guy that they drafted in the first round and invested into, right? He's getting first crack, undoubtedly. He's also had a high ceiling, which I really like Sasser at 51 as well. Fortunately, we could play him at shooting guard. And then Jaden Ivey still exists. He's still playing. So there's no guarantee if Flynn doesn't come out making every shot, that he's going to play 34 minutes again.
Right.
And
we had Dyson Daniels shout from our guy, Nico66. Daniels, it's 4K. Obviously, 21, 25 minutes the last couple of games. He's been pretty good, very efficient. Could be no Zion tonight as well as part of this crew. Obviously, no Ingram. Do you think there's any additional boost for Dyson Daniels here today?
Dude, I'm a Dyson Daniels guy. So, yes. There's no Jose Alvarado as well. So he's already operating as your backup guard in general. Jordan Hawkins, I think he had 0.1 minute last game. He didn't even play a full minute.
Isn't it funny how earlier this season Jordan Hawkins was the flamethrower off the bench, and now they just keep flipping back and forth on who's getting the minutes here?
Daniels has just been more consistent, I think. Hawkins has been very up and down. His ceiling has been crazy. But I do think Daniels provides a lot defensively too for them.
Sure.
He is a lanky guard that can guard 1 through 3. So yes, I think Daniels does pose a opportunity for more run. Now, like, I think you on a slate like this, because like Jared Butler 4,200 is a guy that I've been talking up
Right.
a lot, and 29, 17, 23 minutes last 3 games, 30, 30, 26 fantasy points. For anyone that's been paying attention, like I've talked about Jared Butler a lot. They're very shorthanded. Like it's going to be another Jared Butler game because you could play Jordan Poole off the ball. But like in a situation you're playing Dyson Daniels, you need Zion out. I think just given there's so much value that's going to play 30 minutes tonight. You need your value plays to get to at least approach that, right?
Sure.
The Spurs have a super shorthanded team. Memphis has a super shorthanded team. They're going to have value plays that play mid to high 30s minutes. Like, so for me to get to someone like Dyson Daniels versus everyone else, I think you really need Zion to be out to maximize the ceiling in terms of minutes.
Yeah. Peyton or Sasser? Don wants to know.
Sasser for me.
Okay. Shooting guard position. Again, all these guys have dual positional eligibility. What does Amen Thompson being out do for Houston? Does that just like solidify Cam Whitmore minutes? Like, what do you think goes on there for Houston here?
I think there's a couple scenarios. Cam Whitmore is the first. Obviously, they're running like a smaller lineup. When you think about how they've been using like Thompson, Brooks, Jalen Green, Van Vliet, right, around Jabari. They could go traditional center and use Jock Landale and Jabari in the front court, like how they kind of did with Şengün all year, and using Jabari more as the 4. Uncle Jeff is lurking. They could start Jeff Green for X amount of minutes. They're still not eliminated from the playoffs. They just basically have to win all their games, and Gold State has to lose all theirs. So I think there's a couple scenarios. If Whitmore were to start, all systems go, just given his usage rate and what he provides offensively. So I definitely think Whitmore's the likely candidate, but we've also seen Udoka be random, right? Like where Jeff Green starts, and there's always the Landale possibility. So
yeah.
I like Whitmore. I actually Jalen Green's fine, 8,800 if you want to get to him in
sure
as well. But
we just got word no Rashawn Holmes tonight for the Wizards, so officially out for Washington there. Obviously, a lot of guys out, a lot of guys with dual positional eligibility here. DiVincenzo 72, Brandon Miller 71, Tyler Hero popping up as questionable for tonight's game, $7,100 for him there. Murphy 67, like where are you looking at it in the mid tier?
Nothing that we really haven't talked about. Gideon Poole you could play here. Banton you could play here. Murphy would probably be the first name I'd get to. Big minutes. Sans Ingram. It's going to need to take on an even bigger role if there's no Zion. Like he could lead them in scoring tonight. It wouldn't surprise me if there wasn't.
Just upgraded to probable.
Yeah, the Tibbs had like alluded to this kind of happening, that like they were expecting him to come back. I didn't think it was going to happen in like I'm pretty sure those comments came yesterday where he was like, yeah, we're hopeful OG's going to come back. Well, hopeful just turned into like
in
the literal next day.
Yeah.
That obviously hurts Knicks a little bit. I can't imagine he's going to play all too much, right? Just given
I wouldn't imagine
aggravation.
So he didn't get unleashed right away anyways. Where's his small forward only?
He did play a pretty good amount.
Off the jump, though, he got all those minutes. Let's see. He played 29 his first game back. And then he played 36 and 33.
I mean, that's pretty good for like... And obviously the
29 isn't the 46 that Hart and McBride have been playing. So
that's fair. That's fair. It is just...
I'm not playing OG NRB anyways. I'm just sort of... Like, who gets hit from that, though? Is it McBride?
I think
Probably, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is not a bad situation for Hart, who's dealing with the wrist injury. And I don't know, he talked about it to the media. He can't shoot with this wrist injury. Like,
yeah, it looked like it last night.
Yeah, he just went, he did everything at the rim. He's like, there was no 3-point attempts. He just, so yeah, I think McBride is definitely the loser here long term. DiVincenzo as well, probably lose some time.
Sure. Let's see here. A lot of these guys have the dual position eligibility, so we've covered a lot of it. Any interest in Beasley at 52?
I would rather play THJ personally, like if
Okay.
similar type player. Over a fantasy point per minute without Luka, $4,600. Last time we saw he has a 28% usage rate, leads the team in usage increase ahead of Kyrie Irving without Luka on the floor. Had a really, really good game, played 30 minutes. I think there's a case for Hardaway to play 30 minutes tonight.
Sure.
No Josh Green. No, they might not have Kleba. They are already without Lively and now Luka, like 4 people that play, right?
Yeah.
So
Alejandro in here saying value plays go to the Spurs players here.
Agreed.
Yeah, Branham's 45.
Yep. Branham 45. Champagny is 44 right here. Is another guy. He's going to play 38 minutes. Alejandro, Luka is listed as doubtful. He was downgraded about, it doesn't matter, before the show, but he was downgraded to doubtful. So
yeah, DraftKings is not doing a very good job of updating their injury tags on these players. So make sure you're clicking through and actually checking it out. But yeah, Luka doubtful to play tonight here. He mentioned, should I pay for Tatum? We talked about this obviously earlier in the show. Just kind of recapping because Hauser's here at $4,400. With no Jaylen Brown, no Derek White, and the Celtics already locking up the best record overall in the NBA this year, they have zero reason to play anybody more than a half a game, a quarter, if that. So while Tatum is active and playing, there's a huge amount of risk in playing him tonight, where I think there's a chance that he sits the second half of this game. So James and I have covered it. Like, we're more in on Pritchard and Hauser tonight because they're at least guaranteed run with Brown and White out, than trusting that Jason Tatum and Kristaps Porzingis and those guys are going to play 40 in a game that means absolutely nothing for them. They can't gain playoff positioning. They can't gain anything. So Coach Chris wants to know Hauser or Branham tonight if you had to pick one.
Branham, only because he played 38 minutes last game. Yeah. Look, I would say it's straight up 50-50.
Say Hauser starts tonight, though.
If he starts, I almost want him to come off the bench, because then he might not. Is he finishing the game in that scenario?
Yeah, of course. As long as he doesn't get hurt.
I think it's quite literally 50-50 on whether Boston plays their regulars the whole game or not, because it's either a situation where they're like, okay, we'll look at it like, well, we want Tatum to get a couple more games of like full capacity, and then we'll sit him. We want Al to get like, we don't know
it's also in front of the home crowd,
right?
If that would, I don't know how much that matters, but like, your home fans are paying the tickets to see the players. Like, maybe they play them 3 quarters because the home fans are there. Like,
it is a toss up. They have clinched the 1 seed. They cannot move. They cannot go. Like, they
have the best record in the NBA.
Yeah,
the best record in the NBA.
It just is what it is. So, could they play 4 quarters? Yes.
Yep. Holmes is out. Yep, we got that one already. All right. Any other shooting guards down here?
Any other shooting guards?
Exum.
He started. So he started in that last time Luka sat. He did not play well. It was the Sacramento game, I believe. Maybe I forget which game it was. I had it up earlier. He only played 21 minutes. I'd be more likely to play Tim Hardaway. He's at 0.9 fantasy points per minute. Sure. 17% usage rate without Luka. Like, that's serviceable. If that's where your lineup takes you, Godspeed.
Okay. Jeremy Grant just rolled out as we expected. We're kind of anticipating that one. Small forward, again, Tatum's there, but we're not really in on it. You got DeRozan, Butler, Siakam as your next 3. Where are you? First of all, do you have any interest in those 3? Okay.
No.
Chris Middleton, I would imagine, is your go-to here.
Yeah. It's a really good price. He gets a massive usage bump, not over 9%. He's been great pretty much everywhere. It's just, why did he play 31 minutes in Washington? Why? I mean, there was foul trouble early in that game, granted. Sure. So, like, he had 2 fouls
he played
early.
25. He played 31.
No, I know, dude. I know. I'm being a little nitpicky. But like he had been playing like
He had
essentially
47
max.
fantasy points.
No, he's great. I have no problems getting to him. And if Denny, as long as Denny is over this migraine that is apparently gonna just persist, and if he's active and he makes it to lock, then I'd be okay on both of them.
Okay. Yeah, got both of them there. Again, Trey Murphy, 67. If there's no Zion, obviously, is just an elite play, I think, for us here. Then we get Memphis. We haven't talked a lot of Memphis. We talked guards, but now we have GG Jackson here at 6K against Detroit, and we know their front court is very depleted here tonight. Where does GG fit for your roster builds?
Right at the top. He's the cover of my playbook that's live over on fantasyalarm.com. I mean, they are just absolutely depleted. And you know what's funny? We've seen these teams that are absolutely depleted, usually in terrible spots. They are playing Detroit. Like it's a good spot. And currently the active members of Memphis, GG Jackson, Scottie Pippen, Jordan Goodwin, Jake LaRavia, Lamar Stevens, Trey Jemison, Pereira, Xavier Simpson, and who is the eighth guy? Did I count 8? Do I not know how to count? Jackson?
You said Pippen, a lot of names.
So. Goodwin, LaRavia, Stevens, Jemison, Pereira, Simpson. Okay. They have 8. That's their 8. So, Des, I like Goodwin for Memphis. Yes. Also, you should like a lot of Memphis because they have 8 guys in a really good spot against Detroit. And they're really cheap. Like it's Lamar Stevens is 3,900. Trey Jemison's 32. You just mentioned GG Jackson's 6K. Right. He's gonna take 50 shots and play 40 minutes. There's nothing wrong with getting to GG Jackson tonight because he's going to be the tip of the spear for them.
Yeah.
The question, I can only play 3 players for Memphis. Jackson, Stevens, if he starts, I think is the best fantasy point per minute guy. And then it's between probably Goodman and Jemison for me.
I think you go Goodwin just for the consistency.
I as well. I'm currently playing 4.
Where does LaRavia fit in now with you?
It's hard because like he's like 5th. Now, and that's not a bad thing. He's gonna play 30 minutes.
Doubles when he was playing.
I'm not saying it because I don't like him. I'm playing 4 Grizzlies tonight. So like he was the next guy in for me. Okay. But also I can save money going to Stevens, who I think is just a better fantasy point per minute guy. I played Jemison 3,200, who's again gonna start. They don't really have backup center. And I played Goodwin and GG. So like I'm like LaRavia's perfectly fine. He's going to play 30, probably 35 minutes, just given like Xavier Simpson has played 9 minutes for them on a 10-day, right? That's one of their 8 guys. Pereira has played, he played a lot of minutes a few games ago against Orlando. DMP'd last game, but like he's on his second 10-day. So sure. 2 of their 8 guys are on 10-day contracts. I'd assume the other 6 are the guys that are more likely to get the run. Sure. And LaRavia falls in that equation. I know it's a good asking point because he's small forward here. If you rank LaRavia higher than me, by all means rank him higher than like Pippen.
I feel like we've gotten more out of LaRavia than we've gotten out of Lamar Stevens when they've been given equal playing time.
I can save more money on. If you don't need the money, then that's fine.
Sure.
Maybe you just play the starter in that scenario as well. Because
would you play? Say they all start. Say LaRavia, Whitmore, and Hauser start.
LaRavia, Whitmore, Hauser. I'd play LaRavia.
Okay.
I'd play LaRavia in that scenario. I also like Lamar Stevens is, per the numbers, the better fantasy per minute guy. So
yeah, I mean
he has been.
Sure.
Like I'm not saying I don't like Jake LaRavia. I I do like Jake LaRavia. I would play 5 Memphis guys tonight.
Sure.
But I'm just saying he in the question 3, like GG Jackson is solidified for me.
Mhm.
If Lamar Stevens is starting, he's solidified for me. And then it's basically between Goodwin, LaRavia, Jemison for your third.
Sure.
And if you need the savings, Jemison's obviously the guy because he's
Yeah.
$3,200. Like that's the cheapest price you're gonna get from a center tonight. Stevens is technically your best fantasy point per minute guy. Goodwin, if the efficiency scoring stays up there, then he's going to have a good night and he's the chalkiest play of the night.
Sure.
And then LaRavia has been very good when he's been extended. He's also been hasn't been as extended lately, and I'm not entirely sure why, but maybe he hasn't shot the ball well. I mean, 20, 19, 16 fantasy points, below 20 fantasy points in 4 of his last 5, but he did have the ceiling game against the Lakers. So again, not saying I don't like LaRavia. I like Memphis as a whole. I'd play 5 if you're comfortable with it on a 10-game slate, but he'd probably rank, if you want to put him 4th, if you want me to I'll put him 4th for you. How about that?
Sure, that's fine. Again, I'm not even sure how to get there, depending on who the starting lineups are with all these other guys active. So we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. You mentioned Jalen McDaniels the other day. Do you think he cracks the starting lineup again?
No, I think I'm out on Toronto,
Okay.
unless it's like Quickly Barrett, Kellyo.
Okay. Power forward. Giannis is 12K, but we know doubtful. Tatum, we're not playing. Zion is questionable. Banchero's in a good spot, but likely a blowout situation here. So, what's the first power forward that you're clicking on here today?
If Zion played, I would have interest. Just no Ingram, really good matchup, max minutes. And again, the Pelicans are another team that needs to win. So, if Zion plays, that would be the first name. If he doesn't play, Barrett in tournaments. Then there's 9 guys questionable. It's probably Bobby Portis.
As I say, we kind of have this answer, right? When Giannis has been out before, Bobby Portis has gone nuclear. So Toronto, it's a great spot for him at a $6,600 price tag.
Yeah, he's actually been the better fantasy point per minute guy than Chris Middleton.
Yeah.
In this scenario, he's not better in use. Middleton's obviously going to handle the usage. He's been their basic backup point guard with Giannis and Dame off the floor. But Portis, even if he doesn't start, because that's also the likely scenario, right? Where it's like Jay Crowder, or we've seen that as well.
It comes off the bench, he still plays 30 plus minutes. So
yeah, so I really think Bobby Portis is an elite play at 6,600.
Addressing the question on whether or not the Bucks and Mavericks need to win. Yeah, listen, Milwaukee only a game and a half up on Cleveland for the 2 seed. Dallas is sitting there a game up on Phoenix for the 5. So and a game up on New Orleans as well. Phoenix and New Orleans both 1 game behind Dallas. So
what's the plan? And then how many games are they even ahead in the plan? It's not a
they're 4 games up on Golden State, who's the 10 right now.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, quicksand could come quick if they lose these games here.
Well, the play-in is 6 through 10. So
well, that's what I'm saying. They're 4 games up on the 10. So
dude, that's uncomfy. That's uncomfy. They need to play their guys.
Sure. So yeah, they definitely need to win. But that's just kind of where it's at there. Where else are you taking a peek here? Keegan Murray, Kispert, Wiggins is questionable. Jabari, Noam and Thompson could have some effect for him there. Anybody else in this mid-tier range?
Yeah, other than the guys you mentioned, because I'm very interested in Jabari Walker. Obviously, he's going to play 40 minutes. PJ Washington, coming off a really good game last night, was very efficient. Now no Luka, right? Very efficient last night. He was already in my playbook before the Luka news. I like the minutes from PJ lately. I like just everything he's been doing, spacing the floor for them a lot. So I like PJ quite a bit. Jabari Walker, 55, would be firmly in play. We mentioned Laravia. If Chimezi Metu starts, that'd be a little bit interesting. I think he got a little lucky with all the steals. And then we get to Mamu. Sandro Mamu Kelavishvili. It's interesting because there's no Chetty Osman. And if you look at the popcorn machine for San Antonio in that game, he started the second half and basically played like all the second half minutes. So there's a realistic chance for him to start tonight. I don't know what they're gonna do, but it might be him in the starting lineup. That would be very interesting pivot off some Memphis guys, would it not? Like Memphis is clearly the chalk. If Sandro started this game,
who would he start for?
Chetty's out. Keldon's out. They're down. He started the second half of their game the other night.
Okay. We did just get an update as of 6 minutes ago here. Lillard up to 36%. It is still Goodwin, Stevens, Jemison, your top 3 rostered plays. Laravia coming in at 34% as well. Memphis owns 5 of the top 7 rostership percentages here today. Mamu checking in at 20% himself.
It's a good. I think it's a good pivot.
Notably, though, as we wondered where the Kyrie Irving rostership would pop in, under 20% for Kyrie Irving tonight. So
it's definitely a better spot if Toronto can keep it close for Dame, right? Like, just undoubtedly, I think that's like.
Doesn't that make for like a great pivot though for Kyrie if Dame's getting 40%, right? Like,
yeah, and I believe, like, Kyrie has had, I believe he had that one big game on the second leg of a back-to-back. It was 3-14 against OKC. Second leg of a back-to-back, Luka sat. Kyrie, 36, 12, and 4, 38 minutes. No limit at all. That was the game that was the last game that Luka.
And they have to, again, they need to win. This isn't like a comfortable, like, oh, we'll set them out. No, like they need to win this game.
Yep. So I do like the pivot. And I think there's a case to play both. There's plenty of value to play both, and you might even be able to get away with one other star that we'll talk about at a position upcoming. Yeah.
What are you doing with Herb Jones if there's no Zion tonight? Is he a core play for you?
Not a core play, but he's in the player pool.
Okay. Anybody else a power forward?
Trey Lyles is going to play big minutes. I don't think he's a better value than Mamu or Stevens here, 4,000, 3,900. Obviously, we don't know what Washington's going to do in their front court. We assume it's Vukcevic, but what are they going to do at power forward? Champagny? They're going to do Baldwin again.
Sure.
They're going to do Anthony Gill. Like, they have a bunch of different options there. So depending on who starts for Washington is an answer as well. Sure. We just had a question about Pereira. Mayozinha, he's 3,100, small forward, power forward. I mean, he DMP'd last game. He's going to be in the rotation. How many minutes is he going to play? I assume it's enough, but like if that's where you end up, there could be worse plays than a 1 of 8 on a roster, right? Like 1 of 8 players active.
Agreed. We appreciate you all tuning into today's show. If you haven't already hit that like button, please do so. It's a free way to support what we got going on here over at the Fantasy Alarm YouTube channel. If you haven't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button. We do live shows every day at 4 and 5 p.m. Eastern for the MLB and NBA DFS slates here. I know those of you who've been with us from the beginning. We've talked Celtics a lot here today. We have a couple more questions from new ones popping into the chat about Porzingis and Boston just in general. So just again to clarify for everybody, no, Celtics have nothing to play for. They have locked up the number 1 seed overall. They have the best record in the NBA, and they have the best record in the Eastern Conference. It cannot be improved upon, and they can't lose their seeding. So no Jaylen Brown, no Derek White. We are skeptical if we'll see full minutes out of the rest of their starting rotation. Core plays, Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis, and Jason Tatum, Al Horford. Like, I would be stunned if they played 40 minutes tonight, but we obviously don't know those answers. We feel a lot more comfortable playing Peyton Pritchard and Sam Hauser tonight from Boston. Then we do the regulars. So if you're playing Boston tonight, Hauser, Pritchard the priority, I think, for us here. I'm not touching any of the rest of that team though tonight. So if they play 40 minutes and they beat me, then that's what's going to happen. That's what Brandon said. If Tatum goes for 70, that's just the way the cookie crumbles here. So, all right, center. Wemby's 11K. Sabonis is 10-4. Top 2 price guys at the position. We know there's plenty of mid-tier and value plays as well. Do you find yourself playing Wembanyama tonight at 11K?
So, like, I'm playing him as it currently stands, and he's 9% rostered, which is always, I think, hilarious when you look at Wemby's ownership, because he's always like super low or super high rostered. I guess from slate to slate, you can never guess it. If his ownership stays this low, I understand there is a lot of good options. Stevens, Jemison, Ayton, Mamu, Portis, Jabari Walker all have center eligibility. I get it. Like, you can play all those guys if you want, but like, I feel really good starting a lineup Kyrie Wemby and what that ceiling could look like. Sure. Right? And that's what I'm saying in, like, for tournaments. You don't have to play an 8% Wemby in cash or like single entries if you don't want to. But anytime you can look at a star, because we've talked about it, like, Wemby's just hit this insane stretch these last few games that, like, the whole second half.
He came in with all the hype in the world, maybe the second most like hyped NBA player since like LeBron, basically, right?
Yes.
And he has lived up to that billing. So
there was a little sprinkle for Wiggins at a time to like be the next LeBron or Ben Simmons, but like, that is obviously, we know how those two things have played out. This is like that upside that he can just, where he has 4 fantasy points and then you blink and it's like he has a 2-block rebound into a 3 possession. You're like, oh, I just went from 4 fantasy points to 13.75 in quite literally 1 possession on defense and offense. So I am perfectly fine getting to Wemby, and it's double fine getting to Wemby knowing he's low owned, because again, like, I get wanting to play Jemison. He's 3,200. I get wanting to. We're going to probably get an update about Vucevic when he's eventually announced a starter.
Nick Richards just ruled out for Charlotte here tonight. So
I mean, like, that's Grant, but then we don't know. I mean, we saw what Steve Clifford did the other day with the minutes. Like, Charlotte is a full stay away from Charlotte as best.
Yeah, it was an Orlando matchup anyways. We didn't really care for it, but
like, it is. If you want to play Victor Wembanyama, you know, by the end of the night, you have 80 fantasy points. You're going to be pretty happy with that decision.
Agreed. CW there laughing at the Ben Simmons. Listen, Ben Simmons came out of college with a ton of hype. Like the guy that could do it all. He can't miss, number one, surefire, and then he never learned to shoot.
Yep.
What else? Never learned to shoot. Jemison and Vucevic here tonight for OS.
Jemison.
Vucevic's gonna have obviously his hands were full with DeAndre Ayton here tonight.
Yes. So. I'm gonna go Jemison. Is this a FanDuel question or a DraftKings question? On FanDuel, they're like $300 apart as opposed to $1,000 apart on DraftKings. Yeah. I think it's probably Vucevic on FanDuel, but on DraftKings it's Jemison.
All right. Mentioned already, DeAndre Ayton, great spot for him, 8K. We know that the sky is basically the limit for him. 36 minutes last 2 days. He had the 24 and 16 double-double against Charlotte. I've always been a Jalen Duran fan at 7K. Chet's by himself, but obviously he has struggled a bit lately. Bobby Pose here, Kelly O. Like, where are you looking at the mid-tier for center tonight?
I mean, eventually Aiton's got to get shut down, right? Or like limited. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe Chauncey. I mean, Chauncey's talked about wanting to just play his guys.
Newly nominated Hall of Famer, Chauncey Billups?
Yeah. He has, the newly nominated Hall of Famer has talked about just like wanting to play his guys, but I don't understand like what DeAndre Ayton's gaining from this other than like better stats by the end of the year. So I'm okay getting to Ayton for sure, as long as the minutes are there. On Zinger, on Vooch, Chet, good matchup. Duran, if he plays minutes, he has a ceiling. Kelly O in tournaments. I just saw a comment about Daniel Gafford. I added him to the playbook a little while ago. Really interesting numbers for Daniel Gafford. 1.4 fantasy points per minute this year, without Luka Doncic on the floor. Him and Derek Lively, I should specify. And in the game that Luka sat, John, 19 points, 15 rebounds. You don't think Luke, and I think that's the difference between when you take Luka off the floor versus other people like Giannis, right? Or Luka. People that do quite literally everything for you. There's just so much more to be gained. So Daniel Gafford having 15 rebounds in a game that Luka doesn't play is not a surprise. He's a very
Someone
good
else
rebounder.
has to rebound when Luka's not grabbing 12, right?
Right. And Gafford's still been good at rebounding when Luka's there, but Luka just is always there taking his rebounds.
Yeah.
There's also the caveat that a little under the radar that Maxi Kleber might not play. So now backup center 1 is already out and Derek Lively, possibly backup center 2 is out and Maxi Kleber. Then how many minutes are they willing to go to Dwight Powell? Is essentially the question. Or will they play PJ at the 5, which they haven't done? So I do think Daniel Gafford is very, very appealing at $6,100 because we saw no Luka. There was a 40-point ceiling. And now, could we actually get 30 minutes out of Daniel Gafford? Sure. I think that's...
Well, we didn't get 30 minutes in that game either, though. So, but now...
Yes, but...
no backups. I got you.
There's no... Yeah, I think that's the difference.
Chris bringing out the big problem with Gafford is that he tends to get handsy at times.
He does. Yesterday. He was in foul trouble yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Jabari, $5,500.
Yep.
Mentioned probably power forward, but a lot of minutes lately. Got Washington here. Jordan Nwora, we'll see. Anybody else down here for you?
Yeah, Vukcevic, 42. He's been really, really good in the run that he's gotten. Shoots a lot of threes, can space the floor. Was in very early foul trouble in that game.
Said he had nothing in the first 3 quarters of that game, and then
nothing.
Had everything.
Mamu's obviously someone we talked about. Lamar Stevens is someone we talked about.
We're not feeding Poole OS. We actually like Poole today.
Yeah, we like Jordan Poole quite a bit. He was the cover of the pre-show that you guys can catch every night, Monday through Friday, or in the mornings whenever you guys start your DFS research. And then Trey Jemison, 3,200. I mean, he started the other day alongside Jaren Jackson. Now there's no Jaren Jackson. They just don't have any other bodies unless they just go the Lamar Stevens route. I would be a little more skeptical if Jemison didn't start. That
sure.
Maybe they do limit his minutes. If they went with Lamar Stevens, which I don't think they would, given Jalen Duren on the opposite side of this matchup. But if for whatever reason they went Stevens at the 5, I'd be a little skeptical of getting to Jemison. But 3,200, he's going to play enough to warrant the price. So
I agree. Let's see. Does Gallinari get 20 minutes? Nico wants to know today.
He's going to play. I'm definitely not comfortable saying he'd get anything more than he played even when he got 20 minutes, he played once for the Bucks. He got 10 fantasy points. Please. No.
Don't need to go there.
There's enough. There is so much value on the slate. No.
All right. You said you were playing Wemby, so we'll plug.
Yeah.
Start rattling off to me your value plays for tonight. Let's
get Gigi. I want Gigi Jackson. Okay. Let's get Gigi, Kyrie, Wemby. That's where I want to start.
Jackson.
Then we can fill the value in.
Kyrie. 4,800 to play.
Goodwin.
Okay, Goodwin.
Stevens.
5,100. Pritchard. Not in on the Celtics tonight.
I'm just not I know what I know. I'm not saying I'm not, but I'm just
no Brown, no White. They need. He's got.
I don't disagree, And if he's starting tonight, then all systems go. As of right now, like I'd rather play a $5,100 Marcus Sasser at shooting guard, or I'd rather play Hardaway, Branham, Whitmore, Champagne.
I'm good with Hardaway there. Hardaway works. Hardaway. That gives us a $5,800 util. As I've seen the questions, I know
we've had a lot of
we've
had a lot of the Flynn talk.
We are not personally. I am not personally playing Malachi Flynn. It is unlikely that he scores 50 actual again.
So what, like, no Cade, right?
Yeah.
Your starting lineup, barring they don't just like reward Malachi Flynn with like a start.
If he starts, I'd change my mind. If he starts over Sasser or something like that, I would change my mind.
Like Sasser, Ivy is your starting backcourt, right? It's Sasser, Ivy. Then I guess it depends if they were like, let's just go triple guard, screw it, let's see what happens.
I don't think he gets 50 again. I'll say that. I'll go out on a limb and say I don't think he scores 50 actual. To their point, 25 and 30 minutes in these two games, 31 and 29 fantasy points.
Dude, he's been fine when he gets extended. And the games where he didn't get extended, Memphis, Washington, Cade played.
Yeah. He did have 25 shots. I don't imagine 25 shots coming again. I've been wrong plenty of times before.
I think
this very show I once said, if NAW beats me, I'll let him beat me. And then he went and scored 50 fantasy points.
He did. He scored quite literally 50.
He 10x that day.
Ryan, he's 8% upon last update. Okay. There is probably a scenario where Malachi Flynn plays, or potentially, I should say, 30 minutes. There's also a potential where he plays low 20s if he's not shooting as well as he has. Because, again, Marcus Sasser was their first-round pick this year. Jaden Ivey was their first-round pick last year in the lottery, 4th overall. Like, there is a lot more invested in those two guys than Malachi Flynn. Not to say Malachi Flynn can't be their backup guard in both those spots over like a Fournier, but I'm definitely not as bullish as I know no Fontecchio either. They're gonna start Troy Brown or Tosan. They're gonna float between 3 and the 4, but it's just not a comfortable.
It's just an obvious chase spot.
There's also a lot of value.
There's a lot of other guys at the same price point. I've seen Peyton Pritchard do it more times than Malachi Flynn has been on the floor this season, right? So, like, I would rather spend the same money and get Peyton Pritchard in my lineup than Malachi Flynn for me personally tonight. So, it's a huge face up spot for Boston. So, like, they're going up against Sacramento here.
I don't have like objections to Malachi Flynn at the end of the day, but
Ryan, our only worry on Tatum here tonight is that he doesn't play a full game because Boston has nothing to gain from this game. They cannot move in the standings, and Tatum is chalky. People are playing Jason Tatum tonight because they see no White, they see no Brown, and that could dude. Missoula is a freak, and Tatum doesn't ever want to come off the floor.
He could play 40 minutes.
He could play 40 minutes tonight, score 70 fantasy points, and you guys would all be right. I am just worried that because they have 0 things to play for, that they might just rest. They may rest these guys. He may play a half and sit the second half. There's no reason for them to play any of these guys and risk them getting hurt when the season ends in a week and the playoffs start. And they have, if they don't make it to the finals this year, they'll be looked at as one of the biggest disasters this team has had in a while. They're too built. They've been healthy, the whole shebang, best record in the NBA. They don't get to the finals this year. There's some hard conversations that will be happening in Boston this season. So, and if Missoula goes out there and plays Porzingis and Tatum 36 minutes, and on the 37th minute, Tatum breaks a leg or something like that, knock on wood that doesn't happen, everybody will be wondering what the heck just happened. So
I'm seeing he's doing a press conference. I'm seeing if there's nothing like in relation to minutes that has been mentioned.
Yeah.
He's basically just talking about the G League making it to the semifinals and Jaylen Brown being fine, just getting a maintenance day. Like, there is legitimate chance they play, but it's just something that I feel like both of you and I are taking a stand on. Like, I feel like there's enough to get around playing Tatum tonight, but maybe that's just us and we'll lose. And over 100 people, 150 people will have heard us kind of crap on playing Boston tonight. So
Sure.
all of you guys can make fun of us on Monday if it doesn't work out.
Agreed. All right, so this is the lineup we put together. I threw PJ Washington in there at the UTL. I don't know if you have I know you're big on him. So Irving, Sasser, Jackson, Stevens, Wemby, Goodwin, Hardaway, and Washington. We got 3 Dallas, 3 Memphis, a one-off Wemby, a one-off Sasser for the example lineup here today. Guys, we appreciate you all tuning into us. Once again, if you could just toss a like, thumbs up on today's show. Free way to support what we're doing here at Fantasy Farm. James and I, again, we'll be back all next week with live shows, and we'll take you through the first round of the playoffs, maybe more. We'll see how things go here to get you guys ready with your DFS lineup. So subscribe to the channel so you guys never miss a show. Good luck with your lineups here tonight. We'll be back on Monday with the pre-show and the live show at 5 p.m. Until then, everybody, enjoy your weekend, and we'll catch you later.